Hi everyone, welcome to this evening's Q&A session. Friday and at a slightly different time in the evening. I know mostly we do these on a weekend. So welcome to everyone joining us tonight. A bit of housekeeping first of all. Can you see me and can you hear me? Hopefully the answer is going to be yes. But technical gremlins, we know that there are always usually a bit of a problem. I know there's a bit of a lag. I think there's about 20 or 30 seconds between me talking, you hearing me, and then you typing and me responding. So we're going to make sure everything's working, and then we will be bringing our wonderful guest artist tonight, Judith Selcuk, on board. We did do a test run last night, but there's been major problems. Oh, Rob says the sound is good. Yes to both. They can see me and hear me. So I apologise that you can see and hear me, but I'm part of the parcel, I'm afraid. Okay, so we've got Judith joining us tonight. So thank you very much to Judith as well. She is listening in on the other line. She was trying to make me giggle by whispering things into my ear that she shouldn't be saying as well. So so it'd be fun tonight. Obviously I'll invite you to ask questions. I'll get Judith to talk about a little bit about her journey in the art world, sort of like how she got started up to where she is at now. Maybe I might sort of nosy at what plans for the future she might be allowed to tell us, but I know she juggles many professional plates. Obviously she's a very well-known artist in her own right. She's also a long-standing ambassador with Derwent. She represents other companies and demonstrates for them, at home and abroad. And she can turn her hand to many things, and that's what I love. She's a true artist. Obviously, we came to know each other through the world of colour pencils and the UK Colour Pencil Society, of which Judith is also now chairperson. I don't know if you say chair lady or chairperson, to be PC. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is, so let me know where you're tuning in from tonight as well. Just pop it in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. Hopefully, I can see a few of you names in here that I know from the UK. But if you're tuning in from America or Canada tonight, hopefully it suits you time-wise. And what I'm going to do is hopefully click a button and Judith will appear. And not only that, you'll be able to see and hear her as well. So let me just... Here we go. So you now should be able to see Judith, and if I release the microphone, hopefully you'll be able to hear her as well. So welcome to the Q&A tonight, Judith, and thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like to chat, and then you can maybe ask the audience, can they see and hear you as well?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my shedio.
Your shedio. So we had Alan last time.
Alan Willett would kill me.
Oh, he would. Alan would be very jealous because yours is a very spanking new shedio and his is very much...
It is. It's a bit like my sauna room today.
Sauna room. Someone's watching from Chichester, Florida, Cambridgeshire. Rob saying all good. Now, can you just let me know, Rob, is the balance between my sound or my microphone sound and Judith talking about equal? I don't want to be blasting anyone with my microphone or the fact that you can't hear Judith as well. So I'll just wait for you. It's fine. Wow. All I can say is wow. No, I'm not gonna tempt fate and say that we'll say it at the end what I'm gonna say. So as you can see on the screen, Judith can't see this. All Judith can see is me, unfortunately. She can't see what we can see on the screen. So if you see above Judith's head, there's a scrolling gallery where I plucked out some of the works, some of my favourite works, and I've got some in there that are tints. There's some lightfast.
It could be anything.
It could be, and she works obviously with a lot of the Derwent range, from pencils, pastels. Do you do any pastels?
Yeah, I do.
Do a little bit of pastel work. I've seen a little bit recently. I think you've done a little bit of pan pastel with some background, and also you do not just use the pencils, but you use the pans as well. So the pan versions, especially as they've just brought out like the tint pans and that. Yes. So rather than jumping ahead, but I just want to say that's the gallery of some of the pieces there, and there's a real wide range of methods and materials used in all of those. Got someone in from Derbyshire as well. Okay, so Judith, how did you come to be an artist, I guess? Sort of like, where did it all begin? And what sort of led you on this journey to where you are now?
Right, I've always done art. So even as a child, I did art. And I went to art school. So I went to Falmouth when it was still an art school before it became a university. I think I was the last year or one of the last years when it was an art school. So it's still quite traditional. And I hated it with a passion. Although I finished it, I hated it because I was told what to do. It was fantastic grounding, and I learned the key skills of the trade. And it stood me in really good stead, but I gave up after I left. So I qualified and then gave up. And I put my pencils away and said I would never get them back out again. And I didn't. And I had a family. I went into every job going. I worked bars, I worked restaurants, I got married, I had children. And I then had 4 children. And we were moving house. And I found in my moving items a box of pencils for my student days. And it was a box of Derwent pencils, actually. It was watercolour pencils. And it was one of those wooden box sets. And I remember to this day, I opened that box set going, oh, gosh, these are the pencils for my student days. And that smell of pencils hits you.
Yep.
And it was instant. And to this day, I have drawn most days. There has to be a reason why I haven't.
When was that? When did you... How many years ago?
12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be 12 years ago. And I haven't stopped since then. And that was it.
They get you, don't they?
I've still got that wooden box. I do. And it's that aroma as you open that box. And you can't put them down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So from then on, I carried on. And then I got hooked on inktense pencils. I didn't understand them. I didn't bring them out to their best. Because I didn't add water to them. Because I didn't look at the instructions.
I was the same with watercolour pencils. I think the first 18 months I was too scared to add water. And then once you do, you go, oh, wow.
Well, I'm lazy. I just didn't read the instructions. I didn't notice there was a water sign on them. So I just used them as pencils.
Oh my God.
I did the same with graphitint pencils as well. I didn't read the instructions. It was only when somebody said to me, you did add water, didn't you? And I went, no.
I think I would have done the same with graphitint if I hadn't seen you adding water. Because I'm the same. I get something, I open it, I dive in, and instructions. Yeah.
And I said, what's the point in these pencils? Because they're very subdued. And they said, you did add water, didn't you? And I went, oh dear.
No. Carol has just said she feels like she's missing out because she doesn't have a sense of smell. Oh no.
I can understand that because there's some pencils I don't like the sense. I don't like the smell of. I can't bear the smell of some pencils.
Isn't that strange?
It depends on the wood.
Yeah. Is Derwent cedar wood? Is it lightfast or? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember, but there's some makes I don't like the smell of the wood.
Yeah, I must admit I do. I mean, mine are all kept in the drawers, so I wonder now whether the wood of the drawers, when I open it, is it the smell of the pencils, or the wood of the drawer that's not musty, but I get like some that's like just smell. Yeah.
When you buy, say, the cheaper quality and the lower quality pencils, especially I notice when you sharpen them.
Yeah.
And you get that wood shaving smell of like sawdust.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like that smell.
That's just your
It's almost a dirty smell.
That's just your shedio getting hot. It's your sauna.
It took me weeks to get used to the shedio. I kept coming out going, I can't breathe. It took me ages.
Oh dear.
I'm used to it now. But yeah, some of the smells, and it took me a long time to get used to the smell of oil-based pencils.
Okay.
I'm very sensory.
I'm the opposite. Mine is the waxier ones, and I think that's why my Prismacolors have only been out twice. Because I don't know, it's just there's something about when the wax warms, I don't like it. Unless it's a scented candle.
Yeah. Well, it is, because if you think wax-based pencils, they smell a bit like crayons that you used to have at school.
Yeah.
So mine are very reminiscent of that, and I'm used to that because I use a lot of Prismacolors for the US market. Mm-hmm. So that to me is quite comforting. Because I'm so used to that.
Yeah.
So I find that quite comforting. So when I'm doing work for the US side and have my Prismacolors out, it takes me about a week transition to go back to using Prismas. So I have to get used to using them again.
That's one thing I find. people keep asking me, can I do like just a Prismacolor? I did do one tutorial. I really struggle because even when I open the drawer, there's some stunning colours in there, but I don't know them. I don't know them well enough, and I don't know the feel of them. I would need a good week, I think, of playing with them.
You do.
To
But you can't use anything else, and that's the trick. Is you can't if you're changing pencils and you're changing projects, what you can't do is say, well, I'm just going to have a play with them and then go back to my normal pencils. You have to dive in and just use them.
Yeah.
And then you can transition between them. And then I can go back to using Prismas for a project.
Okay.
If I don't do that, it's disaster. It's like oil and water.
It is
and
hard.
You can't get used to it.
I find the same with the lightfast. I absolutely love the lightfast, but the projects I've done one where I've mixed them with like a polychromos base as well on the drafting film, but I find with the lightfast I like to use them on their own, and by day 2 or even day 3 I'm really loving them and I don't want to look at anything else anyway. It's almost like I don't want to sort of tarnish the amazingness of using those pencils. And the same with polychromos. I don't really bring anything else in to use them. I like using each brand individually on their own. I'll mix a couple in with it, and I see other people sort of mixing every brand going, which I don't think that's fair on people who do tutorials to have to go out and buy open stock of 4 of these, 10 of those, 6 of these, 1 of that. I'd rather do, okay, we're going to do a whole polychromos range, and then you can get, like Karen Hull does, the conversion charts. You convert it if you want. I just think it's unfair to use 40 or 50 pencils for a tutorial of 6 brands. It's just, yeah.
It is. I don't tend to mix my brands on pieces.
No.
I don't. The one pencil that people have to get used to using is Pro Colour.
Yeah.
It is different, and the best advice I'll give anybody for Pro Colour is to immerse yourself in it. And it was the best piece of advice I had, because I couldn't get used to them at first. They are my babies. I love Pro Colour. I absolutely love them, but they take complete immersion for a few days to completely get used to them and understand them, because they work differently to anything else you'll ever use.
Yeah.
And you have to use them and nothing else. And when I first got them, I fought them for 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Couldn't get used to them. I couldn't release enough pigment out of them. They just were not doing what I expected. After 3 days,
they didn't do what you wanted them to, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah.
And after 3 days, it suddenly clicked. And now I love my Pro Colour. But again, if I've been using Prismacolor and I go back to Pro Colour, there is that couple of hours where I go, oh.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I like them because they react, or that they work very similarly to the white polychromos, because everyone slags off the white polychromos for being so translucent, and I like it, and I will use that for that property that it's got. And Pro Colour have kind of got that throughout the range,
very much
and
so.
That's what I like, is real, almost like delicateness with them and subtlety.
Translucency.
Yes, that's it. So as a glaze, or I love building up the layers. I love lots of layers.
It is a translucency, and it's getting used to that and getting used to understanding how they work.
Oh, Carol's actually asked here, what is the secret with Pro Colour? So
it is the translucency, to work in layers, to keep them sharp all the time. And I rotate my pencil constantly. So that pencil will constantly be rotating in my hand. And it's the surface you use.
I was about to ask, surface-wise, which do you prefer using them on? Smooth?
I never use them with ultra smooth, because I find they don't adhere to it. However, they love drafting film.
Okay.
They absolutely love drafting film.
I haven't tried them on that.
It's a lovely combination. They like pastel matte, but they don't go exceptionally vibrant. They don't go hugely vibrant on pastel matte.
You
can use them.
Yeah, have you tried them on the Lux Archival?
Yes, and that's what I've been doing a piece with them on the Lux Archival.
So that would, because the Lux Archival makes it more vibrant with the other brands that I've used.
Yeah.
So
they work well with blending powders.
Yeah.
They work well with solvent. I use them on black paper, but I use them on Somerset black.
Somerset velvet, yeah.
Yeah. They haven't found anything that they don't work on.
See, I love...
Except
Yep.
they don't like shiny papers. So if you look at your paper
Yeah.
and you tilt it in the light and there's a shine or slight glaze on that paper, they hate it.
It's just going to slide, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't adhere.
Because it worked well. That obviously the white on black tiger I just did on the mount board. The mount board had just enough texture on it for it to adhere to, but because half of that tiger was in,
grip.
because it was in shadow, the translucency of that white Pro Colour, perfect. Because you didn't want the bright white on that section.
Yeah.
So
they're like pastel papers. So you can. One of the unique things about Pro Colour is you can actually use them on a textured pastel paper, and then with a paper stump, you can move the pigment. There's something in the binder that does this, and I don't know why or how it does it, because it shouldn't, but it does. So you can use them on a laid paper, and it will actually move with a pencil stump.
Okay.
But I don't know how. But it just does.
And do you find as well, I love it, because I try and keep my room is blacked out. I've got soundproof curtains and everything up. So I work under artificial light. I try to keep my room at a constant temperature. Obviously, you've moved from working in an indoor space to an outdoor, uninsulated building now.
Yes.
So you're going to be going huge gaps in range of temperatures. So your equipment, I always say this to my guys, one day you could go in there, your pencils are going to be warmer. The Prismacolors or, your wax pencils are going to be moving a lot more. And you can't always go in there and have consistency. It's all about the climate that you're working in as well. So are you finding that as well with your new setup?
I do. I mean, I've had a disaster before now where I've actually melted the core of Lightfast and they almost ran out. And I left them in the boot of the car at an arts festival by accident. And when I picked them up, they literally wasn't good. It's not good. Pro Colour must have a higher setting point because they can survive anything.
Yeah.
But Pro Colour never get wax bloom.
Okay.
They never get wax bloom. Whereas I've got wax bloom off everything else, including oil-based pencils.
I've never had wax bloom, and I'm just wondering, do you get it on pastel mat ever? Is that
yes,
do you do
I've
get it on
still
there?
Had it. Yes.
Yeah, I've not had
and
it.
I've had a wax bloom locked in on an oil-based pencil, and it happened to me a couple of summers ago when I went to an artist in residence, and it was exceptionally damp. And I think I used Lightfast on pastel mat, and I think the core of the pastel mat got damp on this artist in residence, and somehow it locked it underneath the Lightfast pencil.
Yeah.
I used solvent.
Yeah.
And the wax bloom locked in.
Wow.
And there was nothing I could do.
It's crazy.
It just kept appearing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There was nothing I could do. I couldn't get rid of it. I kept covering it up. It just kept coming back. There was nothing I could do. It just kept coming back.
Yeah,
so I just had to embrace it.
Because everyone goes on about, you only get real wax, the bloom from pretty much. It's mainly what people using Prismacolors, like with the American guys. Usually say that's the main problem. You don't tend to hear it with people when it's mainly a higher oil-based content, I guess, to the pencil.
It's the humidity. It was definitely, it was hot and it was wet, and it was the humidity did it.
And the fact that it's pastel matte. I know I'm really, when I go and demo at places, like at Nature and Art, and we're in the big marquee and the mist and everything's come, but I never leave the piece I'm working on there overnight.
Yeah.
I take it home so I know it's kept dry. Because if it's there, it's going to be damp and
there's nothing. And it was no coming back from it.
Yeah. Everybody who's listening at home, if you've got questions for Judith, please do pop them in the chat. If you're happy enough just listening to us like waffle away here about everything pencils, but if you've got any specific questions about the inktense as well, I will probe gently Judith about the inktense, because obviously that's what we're focusing on Patreon this month with the tiger, and then I've got the donkey to do as well. It's a big discovery for me. I am loving them. They kind of scared the heck out of me the other day, do you know what I mean? But what I've done, because I spoke to Judith before I started doing this project, after seeing, it was Helen Carter had done a piece. You remember the boats? And then she went back in, I think, the next day or something, and there was movement. So Judith told me with the inktense, the permanence, I'll get you explain as well, but I know Judith said to me that the permanence was, they were tested for the permanence on specific papers under specific conditions. So anything you do outside of those conditions, you can't expect it to fully match the description of the product or the guarantee of the product. So the permanence, so what I've done is, Judith says, make sure you fully dissolve all the pigment. So on that poor pastel mat, I dissolved every ounce of pigment on there that I could in a test. I left the pastel mat 5 to 7 days to dry, so I knew it was fully dry because cellulose fibre. Went in again and I added a small amount of water yesterday. There was such minimal movement, it didn't bother me, and I liked that minimal movement. So again, it's all about learning what your product can do, practicing with those materials, and it's going to come out different every single time. I'm not going to get it to do the same thing. But yeah, so with the inktense and that permanence thing and working on fabrics, Judith, if you're okay just to go over that again, that would really help my guys, I think.
It depends on, so when they've tested inktense, they can only test it on one surface. They can test it on lots of different surfaces. But at the end of the day, every surface is going to be different. Okay, so pastel mat is a cellulose board. Okay, so it's not 100% cotton. Fabric is made up of different cottons, different polycottons. It can be made of silk. So again, it's not a standard test. Papers are made from, some are made from post-consumer waste, some are 100% cotton, some are recycled material, some are, well, it's made of all different things. No paper is exactly the same. So you've got to standardise the test to start off with. So they have to choose one paper, one standard paper in which to compare to. Also, the other thing is when they've tested inktense on lightfastness, they don't dilute it.
Yes.
Lightfastness of inktense is tested in its raw state. It is not tested on its diluted state. Because how do you test how much water to pigment you use? How do you know how much pigment you've laid down? Whose hand is heaviest? What water do you use? How much water do you use?
Yeah.
You can't standardise that test.
So just to interrupt, with the testing that they do they just run the one test once with one person, one tester, or would it be a numerous several testers?
And it's tested every year, regularly as well.
Okay.
So the lightfast testing is constantly checked as well. So it's not just done at the lifetime at the beginning of the product. It's constantly checked and constantly monitored that those pigments are still the same.
Okay.
And they're still, so you will sometimes see a variation in light fastness on the chart. So light fastness can go up, sometimes it can go down.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you'll see, somebody will say, well, the light fast rating's gone up. It's gone up 1, so it used to be 6 and now it's 7. Sometimes it's 7 and it's gone 6. And that's because as they've tested it, maybe the pigments changed slightly.
Okay.
Or when they've tested it on the blue wool scale, it's come out slightly different on the last test. So it's constantly monitored.
Fantastic. So with something like that, I know I sent the link out to my guys last week to the ACHO, the matrix, which, then they could go in and see every single one. So the best way for them to check light fastness is just to go onto, like, say, the Derwent site, into the product.
Constantly.
And keep
going
checking
on regularly. Because they update them regularly. So you're better off, don't go onto the internet. Okay, because the internet, everybody puts the charts on.
Oh, yeah,
you can have a chart on there that's maybe 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah. Go to
their
site.
Charts then, the light fastness may have been 3. Whereas now, it could be 6 or 7. Because they always strive to improve products. Every manufacturer will strive to improve their product. Same with Faber-Castell, same with Caran d'Ache. They will always strive to improve their product. So if you're downloading a colour chart that may be 3, 4 years old, you can guarantee that those ratings won't be the same. So always go on the manufacturer's website for your colour chart. Don't rely on
a Google search and the first one that comes up. Yeah,
absolutely. Don't rely on a Google search because you will invariably pick up the wrong one. And that's why you get people on the internet going, well, that's not the Lightfast ratings. Well, actually it is, if you go on the manufacturer's website.
See, that's one thing I know with Karen's charts. I don't look at the Lightfast ratings. I don't use it for that. I use it just for conversion, if doing tutorials and that, because I know the Lightfast ratings are different in her charts that I bought that were printed copies as well to even the pencils and the charts that I've got here from a couple of years ago. So that's one thing. Yeah, that's really, really good advice.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So they constantly change. So the other thing is that we were saying about is different papers. So the permanence can only be measured on one paper at the time. So you can measure. So say, for example, on pastel mat, you lay down your pigment, you then wet your pigment. You have to wet out every single bit of pigment. So again, how much water do you use? Have you used tap water or have you used distilled water? It will make a difference because it depends how much fluoride or how much limescale you have in your water. It does make a difference.
It's so many small things. That's what I was saying to my guys as well, is doing this tiger tutorial now, I expect everyone's to look different. Well, as soon as they put the line drawing down, it'll look different to mine. As soon as they put their layers...
water fades inktense really badly.
Really? Because of the pH? Or?
Because I've got so much limescale in my water.
Ooh.
It fades it horrifically. So I try and use distilled water.
Okay.
My inktense at home is different from my inktense when I'm out demonstrating, because my water at home is so bad for limescale.
The difference is instant for you to see?
Yes, within hours I can see it.
Wow.
And it's the limescale.
Okay, everyone test your limescale if you're doing the inktense project.
You can get testing strips for your water.
Or just get distilled water. You can order. I mean, I've got a big, massive, 5-gallon thing of distilled water. But I am lazy. I just go to the tap.
You're better off using bottled water, especially if you're using watercolour at home. Even if you not just inktense, if you're using watercolour, you're better not using your tap water.
Okay. We have got a spring in the garden as well, but I haven't tested that. But maybe I'll get a pH kit and have a little look at what that is. It's gone very quiet in the chat. Rob, if you are watching and listening and you haven't nodded off, can you just put something in there, or can someone just put a comment up in the chat just to make sure it's working? Because I've not had a question or any comment. You might, like I say, just be enjoying listening to us, like I say. So, but yeah, if someone just pop something in the chat there, please. We're here. Thank you, Marie. I thought you'd all gone to the pub or something, you know.
Probably. I've come in.
I know. We should have poured ourselves a glass of wine each at least.
I've got my coffee.
It's another thing, obviously, Judith, is we've been having a bit of a chat recently. We've both been affected. There's a question come in. We've both been affected by the whole workshop situation this year and the coronavirus. So we have kind of bounced back a couple of times of, what are we doing? How are we feeling? How are your guys feeling? And Judith is slightly different because she is registered. I don't know what the term is, sort of like more formal teacher. So if you're like on a register, so you have to follow separate conditions to me. Is that?
Yeah. I'm Ofsted registered.
Ofsted registered, that's the one. But again, it's sort of... Judith's great. She's one of those ladies that she says what she thinks. She gives an honest answer. If she thinks she's going to give you an answer that you don't like, she follows it straight up with, but this is what I'd recommend. It's sort of... And that's what I love, is straight talking, honest, supportive, proactive. Do you know what I mean? It's just... You don't come across many people like this, especially in the world of colour pencils. Everyone's quite guarded, and even though I know she is guarded about some of the stuff she does, and obviously we all are, that's one of the big things I appreciate about you, Judith. So, but it's refreshing, and obviously, your role, you've volunteered with the UK Colour Pencil Society for a long time, and obviously as of was it last year at the AGM you became chair, or was it 2 years ago? Last year when Paco was over? Yeah, it was, wasn't it, I think?
I don't know if it was last year. Has it been a year?
Last May, I think.
It would be...
When Paco was here. In Birmingham.
Yes, it would be a year.
Harry's just asked a question. Harry was there as well.
Thanks, Harry.
So yeah, your role as chairperson means that you have a deep-rooted passion anyway for all things coloured pencil and the, sort of supporting all artists and our beloved pencil basically out there, and being an ambassador for it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I am. I think I'm a bit of an addict. I think most people buy shoes and I like pencils. It's a bit weird, really, isn't it?
Hi, my
It
name's
is a
Lisa.
bit
I'm a pencil
weird.
addict. Yeah.
Do you know what? I did think this the other day. I met somebody else and I said, do you know what? Do I turn around to them and say, I'm a chair for a charity and it's for pencils? Do you know? Or do I say, I'm a chair for an art charity? That would sound better. I'm the chair of the UK Colour Pencil Society. I embraced it and went, I am, and it's for I have thousands of pencils in my studio. I think I'm a bit of an addict. But then I thought, actually, and I was doing a demonstration the other day, and I thought about why I do it. And it's because for so many years, we've had our colour pencils, and we do actually do serious artwork, and we do. But we haven't been thought of as fine artists. We can compete with oil painters.
Mhm.
We can compete with watercolourists. We can compete with every single media out there, but we've never been considered fine artists. And yet we deserve to be. We have the equipment at our hands. We have the investment. We invest more time than most of other
Yeah.
media.
Yep.
But we've never been considered as fine artists. And yet, most of the big names out there, even hundreds of years ago, were using coloured pencils
Yep.
in their practice. But it's always been ridiculed to some degree. Oh, you know, they're colouring in. Oh, it's crayons. Was always been my big bugbear. And that's why I do it. Because it is a fine art. And it has to be considered as such. So I'm going to stay on my high horse and my soapbox.
We are getting there, I think.
But we're there. We are there. When are we there? When the companies like Cavendish Dash brought out luminance, we started to be there. We're there when Derwent brought out lightfast. We were there when Faber-Castell has brought out their polychromos. We're there now. We're there with the society when we have our anniversary exhibition next year. We are there now. It's the biggie.
It's the biggie.
And I'm going to stay on my soapbox longer because we are there. And we've got the artists behind us now.
It's the artists.
So we are.
It's all of us that need to be shouting it as well and having confidence in our chosen media. That's what it is. Rather than us going, okay, I know, mine's colour pencil, mine isn't as good or as accepted as yours.
And don't say
do
crayon.
That. No.
If you say crayon, I'm going to come and pinch you.
She knows where you live.
I'm going to come and pinch you and steal your pencils.
Right. We've got a couple of questions going back to when we were talking about the lightfast rating. Now, you said that, you know, obviously there's continual testing on the pencils. The mix might change where they're always, you know, continually testing. Harry has said, how do we know the rating of the pencils that we actually have? Say we've bought some open stock. We don't know what batch or there's no identification or anything on the pencils, is there, really, to say when they came from?
No, they don't vary hugely, except if you hang on to one that's
20
maybe
years.
10, 20 years old, it's going to be poorer. Nothing ever really goes down hugely, but it does go up.
So, so whatever you've got, if you buy something newer, it might have improved. So go with the original rating.
Like a car.
Yeah. Because you said with the inktense, didn't you say to me that there was only a couple in the pencils? Was it fuchsia or something? There was a couple there that were quite...
I've got it in front of me here. Okay, so the ones I avoid myself, if I was doing something as a commission, or if I was doing something for an an exhibition piece to sell, I wouldn't be looking at using a crimson, and because that's got a level of 2, so I would be avoiding that one. And then the cherry. The reason why, so they've got red pigments in them. Red is notoriously hard to keep lightfast. So those are 2 that I wouldn't be using for commissions or for exhibitions because they are going to fade. Let's be brutally honest about it. It's going to fade in your lifetime. As soon as you get on to 5 and 6, then you're not going to see it happen in your lifetime.
So any of you that aren't aware of the term, we call it rogue pencils. You often see people say, right, I bought full set of 150 Prismacolors. I've removed all the rogue pencils, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the pencils that don't come up to the minimum quality on the lightfast rating to make them archival, basically. They're going to fade. Some of them could fade. I know that famous brand that we all love, Arteza, that sort of are always swamping us with their advertising, and we know. We've tested them ourselves. We know people have tested them. Some of those can vanish within a couple of hours. But the artist's quality ones that most of us guys are using, we have expectations of them, and things like when the lightfast range came out, that was amazing. And another question Harry has asked is, are there any more lightfast pencil colours coming out? I mean, I know we topped it up to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is going to be it? Do you think there might be any more, or I don't know. I mean, I like luminance. I'm not allowed to ask that question.
What?
I can tell from her face, so we'll skip on. So I know.
No, actually, do you know what?
Yeah.
I know that nothing ever stands still.
Yeah.
Okay. The one reason why I love Derwent is their innovation, and they never stand still.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be more of everything. There will. It never stops. It's like this machine that constantly moves, and it constantly grinds away. So I know the products will move on all the time.
I like the way
Nothing
that they take constructive feedback and they come back and they either put things right or they improve them. I like that.
They will always take it further.
Yeah.
And it's this innovation. It's an innovative company, and it always takes it the step further. Nothing. It's a constant machine that's moving, and it moves faster than I can think of it. Now,
and they've got so many products as well.
And I will quite often phone them up and go, I've had an idea, and that's a really crazy idea. What about? And they go, too late. We've already thought about that, but it didn't work, or nah, wouldn't work. But this would. Now, quite often I do phone them with these stupid ideas. Yeah.
Someone else has asked, what is your favourite support, Judith? So if we took everything else away and you had to create one masterpiece.
Strathmore Bristol 400 series.
400. I haven't tried it. I've got the 300 and the 500. Don't like the 500. It's the fact that it's not bright white. That's what I struggle with. I like bright white paper.
500 is 200. 500 fights you.
Yeah.
500 is okay. 500 is supposed to be the artist's dream, and it's supposed to be that archival paper for everything. Okay, but it fights you.
Mm-hmm.
There's too high a cotton content, even though it's 100% cotton. There's something in it that will almost absorb the pigment.
Yeah, it just went all wishy-washy. I just put it on and it was like I was using tissue paper or something. I thought,
I can put jet black down and I will come to the studio the next day and my black will have dulled.
Yeah.
And I'll have to go over it again.
Yeah.
And it also makes it a lot harder to work on. Whether it's just preference, I don't know, but the 500 fights me slightly.
Wow.
And it's like I say, it's like dealing with a toddler. And it's like reprimanding that toddler all the time, and it's making it hard work. I don't have time for that toddler in my life.
No, I'm like that.
I'm done with that.
Suede mat, in real life. It's suede mat board. That's what it's like with me. But the suede mat, I forgive it because it makes my fur look so beautiful. I go, that's okay. You keep disappearing. I'll come back to you because in 3 days' time, the pigment will all stay there and you'll create fluffiness for me. So I allow that. With the Strathmore, the 500, I was just like...
The 500 doesn't do that for me. 500 is like the child I've put on the naughty step and it can just stay there because it's going to bring me nothing.
Mine's under the desk. That's the naughty step. Yeah. It's under there and it's staying under there. Well, I did see someone in one of the groups asking the other day for some samples, so I might just chop it up and send it out as samples.
The 300 is brilliant starter work, and I do all of my regular practice pieces or the jumpstart pieces on 300.
Okay.
I have no issue with that. However, it has a slightly more texture than the 400. Ever so slightly grainier texture than the 400.
Does that allow more layers or not? Or just it shows through more?
No, I'm filling more and I'm working harder.
Okay.
As soon as I go to the 400, it's just easier.
So coming from pastel mat, say you don't usually use a smooth paper. If you came from pastel mat, which would you prefer? Do you think someone would prefer 3 or the 400?
3.
3. Okay, I'll I'll buy some next week and see how we go.
Yeah,
What
for
about the
three.
inktense paper? Is it the inktense paper and the lightfast paper? Have you tried those?
Yeah, I use those. The inktense paper is my go-to for anything that requires water. I go for it for everything.
Does it
Okay, so if I'm doing
bleed?
inktense work or graphitint, I will always go for the inktense paper.
Is it a watercolor paper?
Yes, a cold pressed watercolor paper.
Okay. And the lightfast paper, I mean, I know it's super expensive. I'm looking at it
It is.
thinking I really ought to try it because my guys will want to know what it's like. I don't know if it'll suit my methods. I'll have to learn a different method of working, I guess, with it. But I think I should get some to try.
You may find it too textured for you.
Right.
You may love it.
Mm.
It's going to be one of those Marmite ones for you,
Okay.
personally. You're going to Marmite it.
Well,
You're not
again,
gonna be sure.
I think what I'm going to end up doing is
I think you have to try it. What you might want to do with that is, don't forget, it takes water. It's a water. You can use water on it. So what you might want to do, and it's thick enough. Okay, so you've got enough. It's a 300 GSM paper.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use it like you used to on pastel mat, where you lay down a layer of watercolor pencil, dampen that out to fill the tooth, and then use a dry pencil over the top.
And you can get a few layers.
That method.
You get a few light layers over the top, but obviously working light to dark.
You'd get loads of layers on top.
Ooh,
far more.
I will give it a go. What else have we got here? Someone says maybe they should bring out Pro Colour range up to 100 pencil colours too. That would make Judith happy, I think, as well.
It would. Do you hear that, Derwent?
Kate's asking, I do know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let Judith answer it as well. Do the Colour Pencil Society think water-soluble pencils are okay? And I know there are rules about what counts as colour pencil or not.
Yes, they are, as long as 50% of your piece is used dry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tricky one. So as long as 50% is used dry, then yes.
Yeah, and it's at the discretion of, you have to trust. So I know the open exhibition.
50%? What is 50%?
Yeah.
Because you use lots of layers.
Yeah.
So define 50%. It's 50% of the total pencil.
Yeah. Because I can
don't
use...
forget, how many layers do you use?
So I say I did 40 layers. I do one layer of pencil, add water. Then I do... And it's time spent as well. So maybe I'll do 2 hours pencil, add water, and then I do another 20 hours constant layering in. But it's a trust thing as well. I know it's hard for you guys with the submissions to... You've got the open exhibition closing for entries next week, and I haven't got anything in, so I need to sit down.
Do you know what? This year is the first year, and I was going to go for silver status this year, and it's the first year I have, just with everything going on,
it's a strange
have not had time.
I think if the physical exhibition was going ahead still on my doorstep, because it's just up the road, that would have kicked my backside a lot more. I've got pieces here I know that would have got framed for it, but I'm thinking now, well, why am I not putting them in digitally? Why is it I don't know, it's almost like I've run out of steam. I don't know, it's a strange one.
I've run out of time, and I've just not been able to. With lockdown coming like it did, and having to rebuild a business so fast, like I had to, because I teach over 100 students a week. Mm-hmm. So I took 80% of those students online. Well, taking 80% online was also teaching probably 60 of those how to go online.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So everything was 3 times the work. So suddenly I had to teach 60 students how to go online and support them. So it's been an adventure that I don't think I'd want to do again, but I will never forget.
But in a way, I mean, the positives from that is people that have gone online and they've pushed themselves outside of their own comfort zones. And
very much.
It's brilliant as well, because it enables them obviously to communicate with family and things as well. My mum's not online, and I've missed her. I mean, I haven't seen her since, I don't know, January, February. And she just won't go online, so we don't video chat or anything. And she can't even send her photos. It's so hard. But for people that have braved it, gone online, Silver Surfers or whatever, and then they're doing Zoom and classes and everything, I just think Well done. I think it's amazing. So there is some positives to come out of it, especially people that are housebound that can't get out anyway. It's hopefully giving them the confidence to, hit that button and
Yes.
get the video camera going.
Yeah. And it taught me that I also attended art lessons. I decided that I was going to push myself out of comfort zone. And I've attended art lessons, and I've done drawing at the Royal Albert Hall. I have taken art lessons with a Russian teacher who said that I produced legs like sausages. She shouted at me.
I think I know which one you meant, and I was looking at that one myself thinking, oh, I'd love to do that.
It was hardcore. It was really hardcore. And she shouted at me, sausages, sausages, they are legs like sausages, and you call yourself an art teacher? It was fantastic. I learned so much. 120 of us started the lesson, and by the time we finished, there was 12 of us left.
Oh, we'll have to do one together and see. Okay, we'll stick it out.
It was great.
Sausages.
Every night I learned so much, but they were. When I looked at them about 2 hours later, they were like sausages. You know?
But
I learned so much.
It's funny though, it's like when you were saying about you went to Falmouth obviously years ago, and then you came out of it, and you'd lost your joy, lost the passion, and I think a few of us have returned to art years down the line just by happen chance of picking up a box of pencils. And I was the same. I came out of art college and they destroyed me, really. You can't see colour, you can't draw, you can't do this. Because I never wanted to be a fine artist. But I'm finding now everything that I did get taught at art college and at my degree, that I just went, bah, none of that's relevant. I'm finding now I'm teaching, the relevance is huge, and it's all there. It's all ingrained, whether we felt like we enjoyed it or not. I'm loving refreshing, we're doing limited palette this weekend and just going back to basics.
It is relevant, and I had to learn how to talk to printers, and I had to learn, how to do composition, and it's all relevant. It really is. And I hope that they still learn that. I'd like to think they still learn that. The core skills, the classic skills. I don't know if they do.
And I
have no idea.
I know that's why I try to make my Patreon different. I know there's a lot of people out there just teaching. If people want to just follow my tutorials, that is fine. If you want to come on board and go, right, I just want to draw the husky pup and follow exactly, what you do, that is fine. But I'm really hoping people are learning, like we do the live draw-alongs, and we did our colour wheels the other month, and then last month we did the fruit just using, our primaries and a black and a white. And people are enjoying it, and I'm just really hoping, and Harry has just come in with another question with total relevance to this, and it's something we mentioned earlier on about the number of pencils used, and Harry has said, why do professional artists use such a large number of colour pencils in a painting? He very often feels he does not see the benefits of a large number. Less is more. Lots of question marks. And I'm hoping the fact that we, going back to basics on my draw-alongs, combined then, you can go back then. If you want to go back and use tons of pencils, it's fine, it's a personal choice. But you don't need to. And
no, you can have 120 pencils in a box, and I can guarantee you will not have the colour you want.
No.
So it's learning those skills of how do you create that colour. And that's something I'm quite passionate about.
And if you do have that colour that you want, it's going to look flat because you haven't mixed it and there's no variation in it. It's just a flat colour.
Yeah. So I'm quite different on my workshops than most people, that I don't specify a pencil make, because a lot of my students are either of a limited budget or they're in a place in life where they don't have those funds or resources to be able to go out and buy that kit list. And so I don't ever specify that they have to have, Derwent Lightfast, or they have to have this specific colour, because I can't do that.
It's not fair, is it?
So instead, what I'll do is I'll send them out. These are the colour swatches that I would like you to have if you can. And I have to try and keep it to a limited palette. Sometimes it might be 12, sometimes it might be 20 pencils. Or I say, you're going to need to be using a red, a blue, a yellow, you're going to need a brown. It does mean that their pieces may not come out exactly the same.
It doesn't matter. It's the technique they're learning. It's the technique and the skill rather than it making it...
They have to learn to mix a colour. It's about mixing that colour. It's about mixing that paint, because your colours can still go muddy. You can only mix so many, and they can still go muddy, especially when you're using something like lightfast. They can still go really
And that's
muddy.
what I was teaching when we did the fruit drawing. No, we did the colour pan. We did the colour wheel, and I know is it Amy? I don't know. Who just brought out the book as well. I hadn't seen it. But what I was trying to teach was just those basics. But the thing is with colour pencils, and I spoke to Barbara about this. Obviously, anyone who doesn't know Barbara Murray, she's like, she's the lead chemist with Derwent. But
Technical manager,
she's basically one of the main people
she's
she's the guru of the pigments and what goes in, and what goes into the mix to create the pencils for Derwent. And she sent me a load of stuff, and you can access when you go in and start looking at the pigments that are in a pencil. So even like the Arctic, so the Arctic has got hints of blue and something else in there, but then you look at another pencil that's got the same pigments in. It's totally different, different colour. So it's the amount of pigments in there, and because we don't know the variance of which ones have got a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow in, and you don't know how much red and yellow's in there, and if you then put that near a blue, red, yellow and blue, if they're equal levels of pigment, they're going to cancel themselves out to no colour. So because we don't know what is in the pigments of the pencil, it's harder for us to mix colours, and that's why practice and get to learn your materials and what they can do.
And that's why shadows go wrong, because everybody, the first thing they do is they go for greys. And do you use a cool grey? Do you use a warm grey? Do you go wood white? What do you do? And the first thing, and that's why people's shadows go dull and they go flat, because what they don't do is they don't think, well, I might add a bit of blue in this. I might add a bit of purple in my shadow. But you would if you were painting. So why is it when we suddenly get a coloured pencil, we just go for grey?
Because the grey's there in the box. That's why.
But if you didn't have grey,
take it away.
What would you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would create a shadow that was far more luminant. It would be so much better.
Oh, I'm loving talking to you, Judith, because I feel we're on the same level. Whether it's the art college thing and we've just come from that background, I would
like to strip everybody's boxes of all these hundreds of colours away and just give them this narrowed down set. If I had my way, I'd give them maybe 20 pencils and a white and a black and say, there you go, you can have that now. But I'm taking that 100 away. So yes, I would like more lightfast colours, but only because I'm like a kid in a sweet shop.
I know.
Would I probably use them?
Maybe one or two. I know, that's it though.
Or I'd probably have, there's my portrait set, there's my landscape set, then I'll have that set for an animal, and then I'll have that set for botanical. But I would never sit with the 100 and odd set in front of me and go, oh, I need to use them all in one go, because I never do.
And it's what mood you're in. I'm loving at the moment we're doing this ladybird on a leaf. Anyone who's not seen it, I showed Judith earlier, we're doing this ladybird on a leaf this weekend. And exactly what we've been saying, we've just done limited palette last time, red, yellow, blue, black, white. But this time we're doing polychromos, because I've got them, and we're doing whatever comes in the 12 set of polychromos, because those that are on a budget that want to do a tutorial and give it a go, this should be within price range, and we're going to experiment with mixing colours to achieve everything that's in that picture. And if you haven't got those pencils, just grab a red, a yellow, a blue, a green,
It's the best way. Absolutely the best way you can do it.
Marie has asked, what are the most lightfast coloured pencil reds? So which brand or which ones in which range of the Derwents? Which one would you say? Well, lightfast, I guess, but which ones?
It would be the lightfast, It'd be lightfast and luminance.
Yeah.
So it would be Caran d'Ache luminance and Derwent lightfast for your reds.
Cool.
They are the most lightfast because red is so tricky. They would be the two.
And even I know my polychromos, I guess, more than the others. I'm learning my lightfast more. But even there, you go in, you've got always like 10 different reds. And I've learned a lot about, the helio blue reddish and things like that. And there's lots of terminology with pencils. There's some of it they give away in the description of the name in some brands. And then other brands just go, I think Caran d'Ache, they just go brownish orange. It's like,
I know,
okay.
Yeah, they do.
That helps.
Yeah, it's a bit of a brownish orange. But even polychromos, even they struggle with some of their reds as well. They struggle with some of their reds. So the only two that and even the same on Pro Colour. So the two that you can guarantee with the reds are Caran d'Ache luminance and Derwent lightfast. They are the two with the reds that are the most lightfast.
I think Derwent, when they actually named that range, it was just genius, wasn't it?
Lightfast.
We're lightfast. End of.
And it does what it says on the tin, really.
That is just
does what it says.
Absolute genius. I mean, I don't know if they bounced back different names for it or just went, no, lightfast.
Lightfast. Yeah. They would be the two I would definitely go with. And you could guarantee.
Oh, Harry says he'd cry if you took all the makes and the boxes away, but he would be so happy using a small number constantly and learning in depth about them.
But he would cry.
I'd cry too.
How about I put them in a glass box and with a key and say, Harry, you may look.
And you can open the drawer and sniff every now and again as well. Just sniff the wood.
I could just put ventilation holes in them.
Oh,
you can stroke them and caress them.
Yeah, Carol said ditto.
But you may not use them.
I think we're all on there. Okay, we're coming up to the end of the session, which has been fantastic. We could probably chat forever on things like this. So unless there's one last question coming in, we'll round things up. Obviously, if you've created a nice... Well, it's an open competition now anyway, so it's still time to join the UK Colour Pencil Society, or if you remember, get those entries in, and I'm going to slap my own backside to do that as well this week.
And you don't have to join. Don't have to be.
It's open,
isn't
it?
Of course,
yeah.
So you don't have to become a member. So you can enter anyway.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And but I just don't think I'm going to be able to this year because
you've got nothing you can pluck out that you've done.
No, and I've got a publishing deadline for this weekend that I have to meet this deadline for Monday. So I've got to do this. So there goes this weekend. And then I've got another deadline for Wednesday. There goes that one.
Oh, God. It's constant, isn't it?
So it has been constant, and they have to come first.
Everyone's saying thank you very much. Susie's saying thank you. And Marie, great session. Thank you very much. I'm sure more comments will come up. I have sent... one last question from Carol's come in. What is your favourite subject to draw if you had to pick one subject?
See, so I got asked this when I was on television last week, and... I am really fickle. I'm terrible. I go through phases. Yeah. So sometimes I go through seascapes. Then sometimes I go through natural world. I know I don't like domesticated animals at the moment because I've done so many dead dogs and dead horses and dead cats. They're all... No, I've done those. I think I've come out of seascapes. I think I've done those to death. I'm done still lifes, and I've been quite into still lifes.
I find them very calming. I'm enjoying them.
So I've been doing natural world for a while and still lifes. I'm not a portrait girl. They always look a bit like possessed aliens. I have every best intention, but they don't come out right. They've all got squishy eyes.
I shan't commission you for one of those.
No.
Not unless I really don't like the person.
Satirical. Satirical. So, no. Portraits are not this girl's thing. So I think we're going to go at the moment with I have a still life bug.
Yeah, going through phases.
But I am very fickle.
And I think that's what keeps it fresh as well, isn't it? So.
Yes.
Right, okay, lots of people saying thank you. Obviously, Judith will be able to go in on the
Thanks
chat.
For having me.
If she wants to watch herself back, or she could just fast forward to the end, and then she can just see who's been on and say thank you. So a huge thank you, Judith. Looks like the sun's still shining out there. He said, have a dark rum. Harry said, have a dark rum. I don't know if that's me or you or both of us. I have got some rum downstairs, so I might go and pour myself one. And so, a big thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm sure we will chat afterwards briefly. If you want to hang on the line, I will come and grab you. And then I will just close the session and be with you. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Right, let's just see if I can go through this without any technical gremlins. That's what I didn't want to say right at the beginning. Okay, so let's come back here. So huge thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I think it's been an amazingly interesting session. I'm feeling I was quite tired earlier, but I'm feeling quite energised now and looking forward to working with a limited palette again this weekend and working on something different without fur. I'm finding it really enjoyable. So bouncing ideas and hearing almost affirmation and confirmation from a fellow artist like Judith, it's fully energised me. So I'm hoping you guys are feeling the same. So big thank you for joining in. And I shall speak to you all again soon, and we shall see if we can line up another guest artist for you all in the next month or so. All right, guys, so take care, and I shall speak to you all soon. Bye bye.